Good morning, good morning. It is Monday, the 15th of April, 2024. We're back in the studio here in Durham, sunny Durham. You can see a bit of the edge of my green screen there. I'll just shift it over slightly. Hope it doesn't fall off the wall. Anyway, so welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the Rwanda Bill. The Rwanda Bill. This toxic piece of legislation that's been boiling around in the minds of the idiots who have been running the country for the last 5 years, has it been? How long has it been? This originally was created under the Boris Johnson government. That's how long this has been bobbing around in the minds, I should say, of the Tories. It was introduced in the first place by Priti Patel, and then it was picked up and run with by Cruella Braverman, who was pictured outside a detention camp. Looked a bit like one of those camps that they put women and children into, you know. Oh, it is. Hang on. No, it is a detention camp for putting civilians in. We have a name for that. Don't we have a name for somewhere where we sort of concentrate women and children who've done nothing wrong in like some kind of huts? We had the picture of Cruella Braverman laughing, head back, hearty roar, outside that detention facility. Or they'd call it a processing facility, wouldn't they? You know, those huts where they put vulnerable women and children to be processed. Lovely. Nice to see we've moved on so well in the last 50, 60, 70 years from where we were. 80 years now, bloody hell. Anyway, so this bill, which is incredibly toxic, has now been picked up by James Cleverly. Nominative determinism notwithstanding. And all three of them, Priti Patel, Cruella Braverman, and Cleverly, have all flown to Rwanda at great expense to the taxpayer to prove that it's a safe country. Now, I've been to Rwanda. Unlike nearly everyone who supports this bill. Been there. Do you know what? It's a beautiful country. Absolutely stunning. If you get a chance to go to Rwanda, to maybe go and visit the gorillas in the mist, I would heartily recommend it. The people there are lovely. They really are. They're very kind, very generous, and the streets are incredibly clean. They're cleaner than they are here in the UK. Because they have these days where they shut the roads off from cars, and everyone goes out litter picking, which is nice. But it's been run by a guy called Paul Kagame for over 20 years, and he does not suffer, not fools. I think he probably suffers fools. He doesn't suffer any kind of opposition. If you are opposing of Paul Kagame, he does a Putin on you. He takes you out. Doesn't matter if you're in Rwanda or somewhere else around the world. He'll take you out. And I don't mean for a nice, hearty meal. Also, there's a small fact that Rwanda is currently at war with its neighbour, the Democratic Republic of Congo. At war, ladies and gentlemen. There is a civil war that is going on in Goma, around Goma, which is in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo, very close to the border with Rwanda. Now you'll think, oh, that's a civil war. What's that got to do with Rwanda? Well, there's Rwandan troops involved in the war because there's fighting going on over something called Coltan, it's called. Coltan. It's a mineral made from cobalt and thallium, maybe? Named after Tantalus, one of those fellas who tried to feed his son to the gods. It's a whole tangent. Don't worry about it. Anyway, this coltan mineral stuff. I don't know what the right word is for it. Not a scientist, not a geologist. It's in everything. It's in all your electronic products. It's in the camera that you're watching this on. It's in my phone. It's in my computer. It's in your phone. It's in your computer. Small amounts, but and a lot of it comes from this disputed region of the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is a long, long way away from Kinshasa. There's no easy way of getting there. There's no motorways running through the Democratic Republic of Congo. The only way to get to these far-flung outposts, and don't forget, the Democratic Republic of Congo is absolutely huge. The second biggest country in Africa after Algeria now. Used to be the third after Sudan, but Sudan split into two. Now it's the second biggest. It's the size of Western Europe. It's imagine Western Europe, but there's no roads that you can really trundle down at the speed. You can trundle down them slowly, but not at speed. So you have to fly onto airstrips that I've seen planes landing on these airstrips, and good. I wouldn't if I was trying to get my piloting hours, but there's braver souls than I out there. Anyway, so Rwanda, not a safe place for Rwandans if you are against the government led by Paul Kagame. Not a safe place for you if you are Congolese. Not a safe place for you if you're a refugee, because we have taken 6 refugees from Rwanda and accepted them as refugees in the last few years. Our current number of people that we've sent to Rwanda is -6, because we've accepted people from Rwanda because it's a dangerous place where people need to seek asylum from that place. And yet, the government's bill this week says, weirdly, that it's not a safe, that it is a safe place because government says so. Even though the UK Supreme Court, not the European Court of Human Rights, not a foreign court, but the UK Court, Supreme Court, unanimously declared it not a safe place. But Parliament are putting through a bill now saying that it is. So, what can we do? Well, not a lot. I was kind of hoping that the House of Lords would hold up the bill for forever, for like the rest of this parliamentary term, because it's going to run out soon, isn't it, this parliamentary term? But instead, they've allowed it to go back to the Commons, and with a bunch of amendments. Now, what will happen is that they will override the amendments, because they can do that. Just before I go on, because it's going off the top of my screen and I don't want to forget, thank you very much to Johnny Cophead for the super chat. Forecast in New York today is mostly stormy for Trump. The Trump trial starts in a moment, later today. Listen, I'll come back to that. I will. But thank you very much for the super chat. So anyway, so what's going to happen this week is that Parliament's going to debate. But the Tories got a massive majority. We have a system in our country where basically whichever party's in charge, so long as they've got a sufficiently large majority, they're basically a dictatorship, because they can do whatever they want. So they can override these Lords' amendments. And then they'll go back to the Lords momentarily. And what the Lords can do then is they can add different amendments, which will also get overridden. Or, and this is a one weird trick that might just work. I don't know if it'll work. I'd like it to work. If it does work, bonza. If it doesn't, oh well. And the one weird trick that they might be able to pull is by returning to the amendments in identical language. And then the Commons and the government have a choice. They either accept the repeated view of the House of Lords, or they lose the bill entirely. So come on, unelected peers of the House of Lords, which include people like Dingy Owens, nobody knows who she is. Also, that bloke who owned the Evening Standard, whose dad was a KGB agent, probably still is. Ian Botham, that famous guy who once tweeted a picture of his own cock. Yeah. All them. Claire Fox, supporter of the IRA. Yeah, Daniel Hannan, the guy who said nobody is talking about leaving the single market, and then we left the single market. All those people, yes, they're going to come to our rescue and say this is a disgusting, immoral, idiotic bill that will never work. The Tories claim it's going to be a deterrent. Like the fact that murder is illegal deters people from murdering. That's why we don't have any murders anymore. People will come and see, there's a 1% chance that the government is going to spend £1.6 million of British taxpayers' money On me, as a refugee to be sent to Rwanda. There's a 1% chance of that happening. I like them odds. I'll give it a go. I'll just give it a go. I'll just give it a go. Cruella Davros. She is incredibly vile. Cruella. She's just horrible. Suella. As in a sewer. Anyway, right. So that's what's going to happen this week in Parliament. I'm hoping that the bill will be held up by the House of Lords in the way that they can actually sort of stop it, which would be hugely entertaining. But the other thing is that it would be the right thing to do for humanity. And talking of humanity, Tories don't like humanity. They don't want this bill to work, and this is the crux of this all. This is the rub. They don't want it to work. They just want to use it as a Trojan horse to get us out of the European Court of Human Rights. Or the European Convention of Human Rights, I should say. The court is a part of that. And why do we want to get out of this? Well, because at a time when the world is becoming much and more authoritarian and populist, there's a chance that Trump, who is going on trial today for his first criminal trial for, some of the 80, 90 odd charges that he has laid against him at the moment, he might become president again in America. Putin is still pushing forward with his battle in his war in Ukraine, his special military operation in Ukraine, which, because of the Republican Putinists in America, the traitors in the Republican Party of America, these people who want Russia to win the war against Ukraine and then continue to push further into Europe and infect the entire continent with any luck with the Putinist ideology, which is that Putin is a man god who you have to do everything that he says, or you get thrown out of a window or blown up in a plane. I don't really want that future for my children. I don't know why so many Republicans want that for our children, because it's not going to be for theirs, is it? Because they'll be safe over in America. They just don't care about Europe. They don't care about anyone but themselves and feathering their own nests. And the easiest way to do that is to get into politics and tell dickheads what they want to hear. Yeah. Which is kind of the opposite of what we do on this show, which is we tell intelligent people like yourselves stuff that you don't want to hear because you don't want it to be true, but unfortunately it is. George, thank you so much for the super chat. I realised I got my super chat button now back, so that one's for Johnny Copperhead, and I'll do another one. Hang on, this is for George. It didn't work. Oh, yes, there it is. Only a bunch of clowns like the Tories will produce a bill to dictate something is true, even though it's not. This is a bill that tells a lie. Yeah, it's unconstitutional. It just absolutely is unconstitutional. But what they want to do is remove us from the European Court of Human Rights, or run on that as their party political platform come the election. That's what they want to run on. Like, we vote for us, we're going to have an in-out EU referendum, and we can get rid of that pesky EU that keeps making us all this money for ourselves. The EU that cost us £350 million a week, which it didn't. I mean, even if it was that much that we paid each week, we would still make over £1.5 billion a week out of our membership of the EU through the trade that we did, the increase in trade. But there you go. Anyway, right, so I'm going to read some messages, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Trump. Sorry. God, I wish you'd just, unalive. I'm sick of seeing his stupid, horrible, gormless, orange face every freaking day on every news site. Because I've got to read the news. I need to know what's going on. Every day, you're just seeing this god-awful man-child who goes... This invisible, what's it called? Accordion. Yeah, God. The loonies imagine that sending migrants to a wonderful country is a deterrent. Well, there you go. Is it a deterrent? It's a very good point. That's from GC. Is it a deterrent if it's wonderful? It is a wonderful country. It is. The people are lovely, but the governments are shit. Just like Iran, which, set off some fireworks over the weekend. No one was hurt, but it was a great little display for everyone. And now the world's holding its breath for what Israel's going to do next. And I'm just hoping that Israel isn't going to be as stupid. Well, let's say the government of Israel isn't going to be as stupid as, I kind of think they might be, given the last sort of 20 odd years of Netanyahu's on-off rule. Yeah. He did actually sleep with a mushroom knob. That's from Captain Bob Roberts. What? Trump in jail with only a Bible to flick through, pretending to read it. That's from Genie Bottle. Maybe he could have a little rock hammer inside it, scribbled away. If the law agrees to be lenient on me, I'll happily. That's from Sarah. I want him to commit contempt today and go to jail for 30 days. That's from Michael Warner. I'd love that. That'd be great. He can't keep his gob shut, can he? So, although we say he can't keep his gob shut, but there's been a few times, so a judge put a gag order on him saying he's not allowed to talk about X, Y, Z, and he launched into some tirade on Truth Social in capital letters, and he avoided mentioning X, Y, and Z everyone else he slagged off, but just those three he said no, didn't mention them. So he must have thought, I better stay on the right side of this, because he does understand, I think, at the base level, that if he does commit contempt of court, and this is a criminal trial, don't forget, this isn't a civil trial, this is a criminal trial, he could go to jail for 30 days. But yeah, I doubt Trump will go away, says Alex French. But he's so unhealthy, he lives a very unhealthy lifestyle. He eats junk food, he's very old, he's pushing 80 years old, and everyone goes on about how old Joe Biden is. At least he looks fairly healthy, he's not full of burgers. Not that there's anything wrong with being full of burgers, but you think at that age your arteries might go, I've had enough of this. Well, you can hope. But yeah, so Trump goes on trial today for the Stormy Daniels hush money fund, money, which happened in 2016. There was Stormy Daniels, and there was another young actress, maybe, model, who Trump is alleged to have had affairs with, and then paid off through, to keep them quiet before the election in 2016. The laughable bit of this is, it would have made no difference if it had come out. He said that you can grab women by the word that I can't use without getting demonetized on this network, on this platform. And he still won. I don't think it made any difference at all. So he must be really kicking himself, because not only did he, pay this money, well, actually, no, he didn't. We'll come to that. Only did he propose to pay this money to keep them quiet. He also didn't need to. But yeah, he proposed. He said, this is mad, isn't it? He goes, I'm going to give you $150,000 or whatever it was. Keep your gob shut. And then he said to his lawyer, don't pay them till after the election. Just wait, keep them quiet until the election. And then when I win, just don't pay them, because it won't matter if it comes out once I've won, which is what happened, basically. So he stiffed someone on some money, which is very Trump. He cheated on his wife, his pregnant wife who was pregnant with his child at the time, with a pornographic film star. Because Christianity, what could be more Christian than that? Having extramarital sex with a porn star while your wife is pregnant at home with your baby. It's very Christian values right there. Then it's, what would Jesus do? He would do exactly that. That is Republican Jesus in a nutshell. And then he'll probably, he'll make some money on the markets or something and buy himself a massive mansion with a huge chandelier funded by, idiots who think that he's the Messiah. And not a naughty boy. He can have another 10 years in him. Then we won't have to see him again. He can't have another 10 years in him. Then we won't have to see. Yeah. Do you know what, though? I think I often think of Robert Mugabe surviving till the age of 93. Yeah, that's a bit of a worry, isn't it? The money to McDaniels is the fluff. The actual charges for misuse of funds, which is serious, says Stephanie Wilson, and you're absolutely right. So, essentially, this money wasn't supposed to be used for paying off porn stars to stay quiet. It was supposed to be used for, his election bid. But also the fact that it was hush money. There's a bit of an echo of Nixon in this, because Nixon paid hush money, to the burglars of Watergate and the Watergate scandal, so he would win the Was it 1972? Yeah, it would have been 1972 election, which he won. And it wasn't until he was president in his second term that it all came out through the efforts of the Washington Post. Did Stormy Daniels sleep with the ex-president, or was she wide awake the whole time? Hey, but Trump is the line of morality as practiced by TV evangelists. Yes, Christopher. You're absolutely right. I mean, the level of morality of these people is you know, it makes the Satanist church look very moral, which actually it kind of is. Satanists are setting up abortion clinics around the country in America, giving women, choice over their own autonomy over their own body, which the Republicans want to deny. Because that's not what Jesus would do, even though Jesus never mentioned abortion. He never mentioned being gay. He never mentioned transgender rights. He never mentioned things were woke were bad. And the funny thing is, you say things to these people that Jesus said, and they go, oh, that's woke. What a load of woke nonsense. Loving your neighbour. Rich people not going to heaven. Not using temples for commerce. Anyway, except back then, people had an ounce of decency. So Sarah White, today you can be evil, openly evil, and continue ruling. Yeah, there's a moment in the TV show The Boys where the main bad guy that everyone thinks is a superhero just kills someone on Fifth Avenue, and it is a reference. I think it's on Fifth Avenue, but it's a reference to Trump saying he could kill someone on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. And the crowd, for a moment, is shocked, and then they all cheer. And he's like a bit bemused because he's like, oh, what? Why is everyone cheering me? Oh, it's because some people just love a psychopath. They do. They just absolutely want a psychopath to be their daddy. And that's terrifying. That's human psychology. Terrifying human psychology. If only my daddy was a psychopath, then it would have turned out normal, I guess. Not that there's anything... Not there's any such thing as normal in this day and age. Well, since ever. He has a lot of Bibles in his bathroom. It's his favourite book, and the paper is very soft, says Phil. Also, JC mentioned driving cars is okay. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Jesus, he never said that. Did he say, were you talking about Jarvis Cocker or Jeremy Corbyn? Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, he never mentioned driving cars is okay. Yeah, he didn't mention anything about slavery either, did he? Didn't say slavery is wrong. I think slavery is wrong. Do I have better morals than the Son of God? Because I think slavery is wrong. Do you? Do you have better morals, do you? I think you might. Never said anything about slavery. Never said, oh, do you know what? Owning another human being is probably not very moral. It's probably not very good. You know, maybe you shouldn't do that. He didn't say that. But, I'm a jaded cynic when it comes to all this. Right, I'm going to just pop over to the papers. I love it when it does that. Right, the Mirror. Step back from the brink. Okay. I was actually stepping back there. I'm sitting down. World prays for restraint. This is in response to what's happened over the weekend when Iran fired over 300 projectiles into Israel, which Israel took 99% of them out. They were a mixture of drones and missiles. Yes. Everyone's telling Israel not to respond because this was a response to the fact that Israel bombed a Iranian embassy in Syria and killed several top brass Iranians. And Iran thought, well, we need to make a display of power, so they we need to do something. And so they sent all these rockets over, so watch the rockets going over and there'll be big explosions, and they go, haha, that showed you. And also it cost the Israeli taxpayer a lot of money because, you don't get those shells back afterwards. You can't recycle them. So, it costs a lot of money to mount an operation like that. So they've been hitting in the wallet, so to speak, in the treasury chest. And, so hopefully that's the end of it. Or it could be the beginning of World War III. I don't know. Anyway, world holds its breath as Israel vows to exact a price. I really hope that's not going to be the case. And then we've got this story in the Daily Fail about a £400,000 tax bill. Liz Jones had a £400,000 tax bill. I think that's more money than I've earned in my life so far. and I'm 45. Wow. So, and she had to pay that in tax. I assume that she's whinging. So she can, F off. Anyway, it's a poor little rich woman. As Biden blocks instant retaliation over Iran and missile drone attacks, Israel warns it's time the world faces evil empire in Tehran. Tehran's empire? Did they have an empire now? An empire? You mean like Russia, where it's already the biggest country in the world, and yet sought to invade invade South Ossetia and Abkhazia in Georgia, taking a third of Georgia's entire territory, and it took Crimea and took Donbass, and it's got its separatists in Transnistria in Moldova. Yeah, like expansionist sort of empire. Is that what you're thinking? Because the Persian Empire was a thing back in the day of Darius, of X Factor and Xerxes, but these days, no, it doesn't. It's not really a thing, but whatever. Evil empire sounds good, doesn't it? Evil empire, yeah, does sound evil enough, but it's quite hawkish, which is very irresponsible of the most irresponsible opinion paper, I should say, the most opinion paper, the most bog paper, whatever it is, the Daily Fail. They're saying let's have war. Rich woman crying about having a big tax bill. I mean, you must be earning a lot of money if that's your tax bill. And there you go. It's evil empire. We've got to defeat them. We've got to have World War III. That's what we need. Sell some more newspapers. I don't know. Israel vows revenge as the world calls for calm. That's a more moderate take from the Times. Obviously, Murdoch hasn't been on the phone this morning. Reign of terror. This is Iran versus Israel, Middle East in crisis. The US warning as Israel weighs up response to Iran's attack. And then Iran risks an uncontrollable wider war with Israel. Attacks G7 nations warn. That's on the I newspaper there, saying the UK and the US and allies are engaged in frantic diplomacy to avert a wider war starting in the Middle East after Iran attacked Israel with hundreds of drones and missiles. And that was after Israel attacked Iran first. If we're talking about tit for tat, that the tit was the Israelis, and the tat was the response by the Iranians, which didn't kill anyone. So that's good. We'll add a few more lifeboats to the new Titanic. It's on the Daily Star because the Star isn't whatever. And then Israel weighs options after Iran attack is on the front cover of the Financial Times. So obviously, that's going to affect the financial markets around the world. If we have World War III, it'll tank them. And these billionaires who've got these, doomsday bunkers set up, like in Fallout or something, that they can hide in their Fallout bunkers, where they can be safe. And you just go, okay, who's got to give you money when you're in there when everyone's dead? Who's going to be using your Facebooks or your Twitters or buying your Teslas and all that stuff? Who's going to be doing that when everyone's dead? No one. That's it. Johnny! Thank you very much to Johnny Copperhead once again. Very generous. Thank you very much for the super chat. Bugger me. Angela Rayner, not the front page headline in the Mail. Well, he took a day off. I think it's 6 days straight they've had her on the front cover of the newspaper for a crime that she committed maybe 20 years ago of avoiding £2.50 in tax. Oh, no, I think it was like £1,000 maybe, but it's not true. If you look at Dan Needle, who's well worth following on Twitter, he did a big thing about it. Basically, she's done nothing wrong. She's adamant she's done nothing wrong. Yvette Cooper is adamant she's done nothing wrong. I like Keir Starmer. And she said, look, if I'm found guilty, I'll stand down as an MP. Because she's done nothing wrong. And this is Beergate all over again. It's the newspapers trying to go, oh, they're just as bad as each other, They're just as bad as each other. They're as bad as each other. And the reality is that if she had done something wrong, she might have had to pay £1,500 of capital gains tax or something like that she didn't pay. And the guy going after the most is Lord Ashcroft. And he avoided over 110 million, not £1,000 million in tax by claiming to be a non-dom, while not only living in the UK, but also, get this, being a peer in our House of Lords, an unelected legislator for life. Wow. George Dawes. Thank you very much for the super chat. Woo! The right-wing press love war. That's actually very true because it sells newspapers. It's exciting, isn't it? It's exciting when people die. The fallout vaults were not really safe, says Johan. Yeah, that's true. As if they realised Angela Rayner had nothing to answer for. Indeed, Johnny Copperhead. I'm surprised they didn't say Rayner of Terror. Oh, that's very good. Skylar, Israel did fire weapons on Iran first, so Iran has retaliated. That makes them square. Well, alas, Israel won't see it that way. Well, I mean, I'm just hoping that cooler heads prevail. There are people in, is it the Knesset, the Parliament of Israel? There are people in there who are just nuts. They are the American evangelical Republicans. They're like that, but Jewish, and they're all into, I don't know, the end times as well. I guess I didn't think that was a big thing in Judaism. Bringing the apocalypse. I thought that was more of a Christian thing. Looking forward to the end of the world and the rapture, and all the good people are taken to heaven, and all the bad people are dragged to hell. Yeah? Why does that require the end of the world? Anyone? Can't that just happen when people just die, I guess? And their lives are measured against the weight of a feather? I don't know. And then they decide, you got to be in eternal torment forever. Or you got to go to a place where you will be bored within the first 5 minutes. Go sit on a cloud with a harp. And this is what, and I'm sorry if I lose any viewers who are, who are really into this and really, really want it to be true and really, really want there to be an afterlife where you see your friends and your family and you all meet up again in the hereafter. And then what? Like, humans get bored very, very, very easily. You talk about sort of 30-second attention spans at the best of times. And these people are going to be living together with people that they might hate because they might be good people. They may go to heaven and you might actually hate them. And you're stuck with them. For how long? 100 years? That's a long time to be stuck with someone. 1,000 years? That's a very long time to be stuck. 1,000,000 years? Bloody hell, that's a lot. Start counting now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get to 1,000,000 in a few weeks if you don't sleep. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of people being miserable for a very long. No, it's not. It's eternity. A quadrillion years. A sextillion years. A nontillion years. More than that. You're going to be bored in the first 5 minutes. You see, heaven in the traditional Christian ideal of heaven is just as much hell as the Christian ideal of hell, because you're stuck with humans forever. And as Jean-Paul Sartre once said, hell is other people. But the thing is, if you were there on your own, you'd be lonely. Just don't get it. I don't want it to be true. Anyway, eternity has no expiry date, indeed. Could I just stop existing now, please? Heaven for the weather, hell for the company. Wasn't that Mark Twain? Daily Mail was just complaining. Sorry, that was a message from Christopher. Tinkerade says, Daily Mail was just complaining about Rayner not paying tax. Now they're complaining about Liz Jones having to pay tax. Consistent. Yeah. One rule for one reality for them, one reality for the rest of us. Okay, I'm off now. I'll be back on Wednesday for the not just Morning Brew, but also the first Prime Minister's questions of the summertime. Don't they have a name for it, like Michaelmas term or something like that in the posh schools? That's probably what they call it in Parliament. It's just an extension of the posh schools, really. But I'll be back for that tomorrow at 9:30. Phil will be here to give you your morning brew. To make your morning brew for you. And he makes a great morning brew. So please join us for that. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I will update the outro today. That's one of my list of things to do now I'm back off me jollies. So bear with me while I get that sorted. If your name's not on there, it will be on there. And if you do want to support this channel, sustain this channel via Patreon or by becoming a YouTube member, I'd really appreciate it. And we'll put your name at the end of the credits today. And I'll change the music as well, because some people will complain about the music. I thought it was quite fun and spacey, like, watching the gallery music. I thought it was like the gallery music on Tony Hart, but obviously not. Of course, the Tories love war, says John. Lots and lots of poor people are wiped out. They die in far off battlefields, alone and in pain. Yeah, John. Well, the thing is, in the Civil War, they're not even on a battlefield. They're just sheltering, shivering, freezing cold, freezing to death in a wet basement. That's how most people die, of disease or starvation, or a bit of both. Civil War, yay! Which is what a strange number of Americans seem to want. I'm going to go and see the movie Civil War, not the Marvel one, the Alex Garland one next week, and I'll let you know what I think. Justice for the 97, that's from Christopher Bolts. Yes, it is the anniversary of Hillsborough today, April the 15th. And the 97 fans that died on that terrible day in April in 1989. And the absolute horrific miscarriage of justice that followed with the government and the Sun newspaper and just the newspapers in general and the South Yorkshire police all conspiring together to blame the fans for the mistakes that were made by the police, for which no one was brought to justice. Not even the guy who was in charge at the time, who opened the gates that allowed the crush to happen. His incompetence and ineptitude allowed that to happen, and he got away with it. He got away with it. One day we'll have justice, I'm sure. But yeah, in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for all your chat and the super chats. And like I say, Phil will be back in the morning at half 9. And until then, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.